Oh, lordy.
Look who's 40.
Yeah. Welcome to Day One Patch, episode 260, man.
260.
260. My name is Ryan Johnson. I'm your host. That's Matt Lawrence.
It is I. Adriano's dead.
He had
I grabbed
allergies.
a bunch of chloroform and shoved it up his nose, and then now he has sinus trouble, so he can't come in.
Jesus. What is the side effects of chloroform?
I don't know.
Question.
I assume you'd probably feel pretty bad waking up after.
All of our big chloroform fans, write to us and let us know.
Please do not write to us if you're a chloroform fan.
Is it chloroform?
Chloroform.
Is that the right way?
Right?
I think so. Because I know there's something...
I'm not a chloroform expert.
Isn't there like some green drink that's called something? Chlorophyll, maybe that's
chlorophyll. It sounds like a type of medicine.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
All you need is chlorophyll.
Not chlorophyll. It's like I don't know.
All you need is gefilte fish.
Yeah. I didn't like a lot of the stories this week.
Damn it. It's summer news. You're not going to get the big blockbuster, but you're going to get some good stuff. There's some good shit in there.
It's on the eve of the good game season, right? Or the many game season.
Well, which is a mediocre amount of games season this year.
It does feel like that, and I think everyone's waiting for the next gen.
Although that's not what happened previously, which is weird. Like, people just put out what they had because they knew people were going to buy it. Like, no one plans ahead enough where they're like, well, a PS5's coming out. I'm not going to play these last two games.
I think, there was a difference of what happened last gen is that a bunch of the games that came out in the last year or even 2 years of the PS3 and Xbox 360 came out on Xbox One in some sort of remastered fashion or just sold again.
Yes.
And so I think they're all planning to launch their games in 2020 and say it's both on PS4 and PS5.
Probably. Although we already had the debate of like how that's going to work when it's presumed that they're all going to be backwards compatible.
That's a good question. Yeah.
So it's like, why buy the PS5 version when I could just buy a PS5 and then buy the cheaper version? Or if it will be cheaper.
I don't think it will be
Maybe
cheaper.
it won't be cheaper.
It'll be the same price, yeah.
The world may never know.
But next year might be a very fascinating year.
Because of the consoles?
Although, you know what's weird is I don't remember the first year of the PS4 and Xbox One being a great year for games. You had like Assassin's Creed, Black Flag, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But everything else seemed kind of... They were all focusing on like the visuals and the games themselves I didn't find to be all that interesting. Which was weird because at the tail end of last gen, games were getting really good.
Yes.
And it's like they kind of like refreshed when the next gen happened. So I'm not sure what the kind of games we're going to get this next gen.
The thing is like I don't think I used my Xbox One or my PS4 quote unquote full time until about a year in. Like, it was still a question when someone was like, do you want to hop online? I'd be like 360 or one or like PS4, like which one?
I think we were done with Call of Duty. No, we were still playing Call of Duty at that point.
And GTA.
Call of Duty Ghost was the launch day, wasn't it?
Call of Duty Ghost was launch day, yeah.
Yeah.
But like we only played that did we play with Aaron?
Aaron, yeah.
And he got it like a few months later.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, remember not the game. I think he got the console later. I think he got it in the summer.
House.
Yeah.
We were at his house when he got it.
We drove him to the place to buy it, I think.
Oh, jeez.
So.
Yeah. Some of the top stories. We have some big news out of... that's what was kind of missing in here. That's what happened. All the Gamescom stuff.
Damn it.
Yeah. But this was a kind of announced during Gamescom. Not at Gamescom, I don't think, but kind of during. Sony is buying the Spider-Man developer Insomniac Games. Telltale's being revived, and Steam's business model is unrealistic, according to a Ubisoft executive. So those are the three stories I got. And then Matt has a pretty interesting Query Corner question. And we'll find some other things to talk about, I guess.
Should probably look up Gamescom.
I remember a few things.
I don't follow anything but E3. But like, I wonder how many people are like that. Like, I wonder if that's like a norm where people are like, well, I'll pay attention to E3, but I'm not going to pay attention to anything else.
Probably a lot. I think E3 gets like the big coverage. And I think even like the casual gamers, quote unquote casual gamers, pay attention to E3.
Yeah. Like there is like the Game Awards. I pay attention to that. And like I do get news fed to me. Like I do read news here and there, but like I don't.
Why don't you though? That's what I find that fascinating.
I used to like watch everything, like CES and everything, and then they started kind of like I don't know. It was like a year. I think it was maybe 3 years ago. I would say approximately. they started kind of like killing the live streams. And then they kind of came back. Like basically what had ended up happening was like a lot of the big live streams kind of died for CES. And so then I started watching crappy ones. And I think that like turned me off to just live streams where I was like, man,
I think you might be right there because I remember I used to watch, my coverage, I didn't never had G4 back in the day.
Yeah.
But a lot of the coverage I watched online afterwards was G4 coverage.
Yeah.
Then they died. And my main E3 I watched was on Game Trailers. And it was hosted by Jeff Keighley.
Yeah.
And then Game Trailers died. And so now it's like everyone covers E3. There's like 1,000 different streams. And now it's like that thing where you have a buffet of products and you can't choose one. Do you know what I mean?
Well, what's really interesting about this too is that I don't know if you've ever like talked in a group of people that have watched E3. So like you, Adriano, and Marty usually watch it together or watch the same streams at least, right? And so we kind of have the same news. So it's not like we're like, man, did you see that thing at E3 or whatever, right? Because we know each of us has seen it.
Yeah.
But I've been in like a group of other people who also play games, and you'll ask that, and each of them will have like a totally different experience. Like one will follow like this other larger outlet like GameSpot or something. One other one will be like just all about one influencer, so they'll just watch that influencer's coverage.
Yeah.
And so like they're getting a totally different view of E3 than what we got. And we're like, with that being said, we get like a totally different experience, and not like the big stuff hits everyone, right? Like Final Fantasy VII or whatever, like the big stuff hits everybody, but they'll see like a massive amount of footage about some game that I'm like, I've never heard of that.
Right.
That's there. It's really weird seeing how these influencers now change like the perspective of events for people. Because I think a lot of people don't like the conferences now. They'll just watch like their favorite streamer or
like recap it.
Yeah, like Linus, for example, for the CES. Linus would be the guy I would go for CES for the most part now, because like he goes around to the booths and like just keeps uploading videos. So like he would be like, it's not live streaming, or like at least I've never seen him do that at CES. So I'm only getting Linus's perspective of CES. I'm not getting anyone else's now.
Yeah.
And that's probably like almost going with the blinders on, because like we went to Fan Expo recently. Each one of us probably had a different experience, because you're going down different aisles looking at different things. You know what I mean? Like I'm interested in this, you're interested in that, this other guy's interested in this. So it's I don't know. The influencers thing is weird to me.
It's definitely a different world.
It's totally different.
I do remember that CES, like again, G4 covered them, and I liked watching their coverage.
Yeah.
And then once they went away, it's like it was very hard to find their actual streams. And this was like kind of before every company had their own YouTube channel where they could stream their own conferences and whatnot.
Yeah.
But now they all do stream their own conferences, and I think this year I watched CNET. I think CNET had like pretty much constant coverage of CES.
Right.
So I'm happy to watch that now.
Well, I used to watch Mobile Nations, and they like kind of rotated between, because they have a bunch of publications, so they would rotate between all the hosts from the different publications. And then they would just kind of like do interviews and go to the conferences as needed and whatever, coverage. Like they just did coverage. But then they stopped. I don't know if they've restarted, but they stopped the 1 year. So then I went to TechCrunch, and I didn't enjoy that one that much. There was like one segment on the TechCrunch one where it was like these, it'd be almost like Shark Tank. But I can't remember now. It was a couple of years ago, but I can't remember whether the richer guys, like the investors, would actually invest at the time, or whether they were just kind of critiquing pitches or what they were doing exactly. But it was basically like, here's this new technology. This entrepreneur is going to pitch it to these three investors, these rich folk, essentially. And I liked that, but then I watched it last year or maybe like 2 years ago now, and I was like, I just didn't like that episode, so it just turned me off completely.
All right, what's new, Matt? What have you been playing?
What have I been playing?
What have you been watching? What anything?
I got really hooked to a new mobster show. Probably boring everyone with my talks about it in chats, because I get like really hooked into these shows. But it's because it's like literally like 20 minutes away. It's about Montreal. It's about Montreal, Hamilton, and Toronto. So it's kind of in our backyard, and they actually like show like shots from the escarpment and stuff. It's a little bit sad that Hamilton doesn't have a good like city profile shot, so they'll like show Hamilton and it's like one skyscraper and a bunch of these low buildings.
If you come down, I forget what highway it is. It's the main one coming down the mountain.
Okay.
There's a good city shot you can get there.
They did not use that,
but it's like difficult to get because you're on a highway, right?
Oh, okay.
So you'd have to be like filming in the car.
Oh yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah.
But there is a nice shot of the city there because you have like the trees, and then like the city is like rising out through the trees.
That's cool.
But yeah, other than that, it's not a pretty city from the shore.
Well, they showed it from the escarpment, and like they didn't like. I know the downtown has a fair bit of like higher buildings now, but the shot that they had only had like one high building in it, and then they showed a lot of like the plant, the industrial sector.
Yeah,
but I've been really digging that show. The first season I thought was a little bit cheesy, but the second season's really good.
Hamilton needs some iconic building. It needs like a Skylon Tower or a CN Tower, or you know what I mean?
A Tim Hortons Field,
or like the Space Needle in I think Seattle, is it? Some sort of iconic.
But does
tower.
Montreal have one? Yes, it does. It has that Olympic building.
Oh yeah,
the one that leans.
Yeah.
What does Toronto have? CN Tower. We don't have anything. Hamilton doesn't have anything. What's Hamilton doing? We have a Hamilton sign now.
The smoke rising from the industrial sector.
From Steel Town or whatever. Yeah. Damn it. But yeah, so I've been watching the hell out of that. I actually finished it last night, and then I've been playing just randomly. I was gonna go.
Is it semi like realistic?
It's based on true story.
So it's like factually based, or is it like a docudrama where they take like liberties and stuff?
They take liberties. They say that.
Yeah.
But like the first episode. The first season is about I can't remember the name of the family, but it's about Vito something and his family. It was in Montreal basically, and what it was is it actually was like realistic enough where they were playing the real news reports from 2005 or whatever, because it's like early 2000s that this actually happened, and so they actually played the real news reports.
God, that makes me feel old, doesn't it?
It does. But like there were some really scary things where they like set up the shot or whatever, and then it cuts in and I'm like, wow, that's a pretty like realistic news report. I'm like, oh, it is a news report. So that was kind of interesting. I don't know. I thought that season was just a little cheesy just because some of the shots were kind of like cut weird. Like it'd be like the end of the scene was weird. Like it'd be like, why did it cut there? But then they kind of really hit their stride, and like season 2 is like extremely good. Like I binge watched all of that in like 3 days.
Oh wow.
So I'm done that. I think there's more coming. And then I've been playing Gears of War 2 randomly. So I was going to go play Kingdom Come Deliverance after I had platinumed to Days Gone. But then I just decided to randomly boot up Gears of War 2 because you guys have been talking about Gears of War 5 coming out. So I was like, I'll just try to boot this up because I wanted to get through it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty far, actually. I mean, I'm going to talk about spoilers for Gears of War 2 if you care.
No one remembers that game. I don't remember that game.
All right.
So, please.
Well, regardless, I killed the worm, drove like the Jeep through that area, and I can't remember where I am right now. Oh, I'm trying to find the stronghold. So my exact last scene is you're walking through like this cave, and there's some stranded there, and like this old guy comes up and says like the locusts keep coming from this lake or this like river, and it's like a dangerous place, and then you're looking for a stronghold, so obviously you're like, yeah, this is where we got to go, kind of thing. So that's the very last thing I did. Then I quit. But you were saying it's like a 15-hour game. I was hoping it was gonna be like a 5-hour game. I'll just finish it in like 2 sittings.
I remember them being longer games. I remember spending a lot of time with those games
because it seems like I have a whole bunch more. Because every single time it's like, let's go hack this base, but in the meantime it's like razor hail, and then like freaking. Like this happens, and a big worm eats you.
Or you just go to a completely new location, and it's just like there's another 5 hours I gotta play through.
Oh yeah, where it's like you get like knocked off course in your helicopter or whatever.
Yeah.
I have a problem with how the stuff is designed in that game. It's like the locusts are like just these massive hulking. They use like biology essentially, these big worms and crap to attack things. Why is it that the cog have these tanks that are like on these tiny little stilts and they're like way up in the air? It's like, this is going to get knocked over, like let alone crushed because the locusts have huge things. Why is this so like you could just topple it over? Like break one axle, there it goes. Like
because it's about the design more than the actual
but it doesn't look good either. Like it looks freaking weird.
Yeah, the only thing I've liked in the style of Gears of War is like their buildings and stuff.
I want to know more.
They have some old architectural kind of looking buildings. But in terms of the vehicles and stuff, I've never really liked them.
The vehicles are lame. The armor, the vehicles are lame. Like I can't handle them. The cars look okay.
Like there's big like Gears fans, and we're just trashing there.
The vehicles are lame. The helicopters are fine, but the land vehicles are freaking lame. Because I have another problem with the Gears of War series in general. Is this? and this happened in Resistance as well, when the whole world gets taken over by the Chimera or whatever.
Oh Lord!
What?
Bring it back, Sony.
They're going to. That's why they bought Insomniac.
They're not going to know.
That's why that's why they bought Insomniac.
No.
Do you know how much Halo stuff's happening right now? They need something. They're going to bring back Resistance.
I guess they don't have a shooter, do they?
No,
Because
they
they
don't.
lost Killzone. Well, no, they didn't lost Killzone, but they replaced it with a better game.
So they're definitely going to make another Resistance, I'd say. But regardless, it's a problem of everything, or it appears to be everything in the world is occupied. And every tool we have fails instantly. It's like, get on this chopper fails. Get in this tank fails. But then, for some reason, sometimes it's like, so for example, the mission I'm doing, or just finished, was I was driving this one single tank. I think it's called a Marauder or something, I can't remember. But I'm driving this one single tank, and I'm killing everything. Like, Reavers, the grubs, the like whatever. I do still love the scratch one grub. But it's stupid. But like, I'm killing the big guys, the guys with like they'll cover up themselves like with their arms like a shield.
Oh yeah.
Like their weird legs.
Don't you normally need like the
Hammer Dawn?
Yeah.
No, but if you wait and they'll open up their shield eventually to like attack you, you can shoot it with this tank. But this one tank that I'm driving killed like 6 of them, like 100 locusts. I flew through their territory. Send a bunch of the gears out in these tanks and we'll just win the war. Like, we will win the war. But no, we have this big, slow, hulking thing that comes in nice and slow. So the locusts are like, what in God's name is that noise? They look over and they're like, don't worry, they'll be here in 38 days. Let's get ready. Like, let's get our big rock worms and let's go. Fuck. Like, it's...
They all hop on their rock worms and just ride away.
I do love the broness sometimes where they're banging guns and stuff. They're like, yeah, and they're like the
It
little
feels
tap.
so outdated now, though. It was perfect for the time when it came out.
Yeah.
But now it just feels so outdated.
It's pretty hilarious.
Lord.
But what I noticed is with 360, like Gears of War 2 is pretty old, and it doesn't feel that old. I think 360 finally reached that point where...
Are you playing it on 360?
I'm playing the 360 version.
Oh, on your... Okay.
On my Xbox One. Yeah. But like, it still looks like the 360 and everything. It doesn't feel that old. Like, it's not like one of those games where it's like, fuck, I can't play this. This is tank controls or whatever. Like, it just feels like a game.
Yeah.
So I think 360 was like that point where it's like, I could just play anything now.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Although it's all gray, isn't it? Everything's just
gray. All gray.
Yeah, the whole screen's gray.
The whole screen's gray at all times.
For some reason, the Xbox 360 and PS3 couldn't handle colors.
That's it. That's all you get. Can't show glimmering colors. There's a sun out there. We can't show colors.
Fallout, just gray.
That was yellow, more like piss green yellow.
I've been playing a couple games. And this game was actually announced and launched at Gamescom, and it was called Erica. And it's a live action kind of choose your own adventure type game.
Okay.
And that might sound weird because, like, when I think of that, I think of when DVDs first came out, they had those interactive DVDs where you could like select on the menu and stuff,
or like Bandersnatch.
But the DVD has to spin and like takes time to load the next scene, and so it was very kind of like, oh, I'm playing a game,
Yeah.
This one's a lot more seamless, and you can. I'd recommend using your phone to control it. You can download an app and then use your phone to control the game. And it's like amazing how seamless the transition between you making a choice and the video playing is now. So it's a little cheesy. It's a little.
Was it free? Or did you buy it?
It was like $13.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I just thought it interested me enough, and I like supporting kind of people taking risks on kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was fascinating. Worth a check out if you kind of like that kind of stuff. I haven't finished it yet. I hear it's only like a couple hours though.
I was gonna say, like, how long is this thing?
I think it's like 3 hours at most, maybe, or something like that. And then I've been playing Control,
which is gonna be our Query Corner question.
It's gonna be part of it, and also there was a story about the performance of Control.
Although, like, we played it at my house on stream, and I didn't. You guys were saying, "Wow, this is lagging," and I didn't. It looked fine to me. Like, the consoles stutter. Like, they do stutter here and there.
But there was an actual story, and there was people investigating this and stuff already too. It got down to like 10 frames a second sometimes, especially on launch day consoles like yours.
Oh. We didn't experience that yet, though.
Right? No, because it might happen more. Like, I did notice it while we were streaming that there was some laggy parts. The map wouldn't load on your console.
Yeah, that happens.
It takes a long time on mine too, but not as long as it took on yours. Like it didn't even want to show up on yours.
No, yeah, that was weird.
But when you get like everything's breakable, as Tim showed us.
Yeah.
And when you get all those particles flowing around and you're using your powers and you're fighting stuff, there's all these particles on the frame. That's when it starts to really kind of slow down.
I can only imagine. I keep imagining it going down to 10 FPS and then Tim's grabbing stuff to make it go less. Just being like, what the fuck is going on here? Like,
so yeah, it definitely has performance issues. Hopefully they update it, but I might be done the game by the time they update it.
But you have a Pro though, so you don't really experience that much.
The Pro's experiencing it too,
but not down to 10, right? Like it's not that bad.
I've never had it that bad, not in my recollection. Maybe others have, but not I haven't yet. But I'm just worried I might be done it before the updates come out.
That's one thing that really sucks is it's like when they say there's an update coming out, like I understand it takes time to put out an update. I'm not saying they should be there and do it in 12 seconds, but
on the other hand too, they must have known these had performance issues before it launched.
This is what I mean. So it's strange to me that they're like, "Oh, don't worry, just wait." It's like, "Well, I just paid for this." That'd be like you purchasing anything like a TV and being like, "Well, just wait a few weeks." Like,
right. Yeah. I don't know if they've commented on it yet or not. And apparently it's worse on the PlayStation platform than Xbox.
Oh, this is I thought this was a friggin' PlayStation exclusive game. It looks like a PlayStation exclusive game.
On PC, apparently it's fine. So, because you have the horsepower to kind of push through those heavy, intensive stuff.
Yeah, of course. The hell is going on with this freaking PlayStation? I feel like PlayStation has more performance problems.
I think it just depends on which one you develop it for. If they spend a lot of their time developing it for Xbox and then kind of port it over the PlayStation version, you're going to run into more problems.
That's very true.
So, I don't know. But I do think that Sony just bought Insomniac. I think they should also buy Remedy. And then they can help them out a little more on the technical side.
But, like, what else has Remedy made?
Alan Wake. Quantum Break.
They're more of an Xbox developer.
They originally made...
That's why.
They made the original Max Payne.
This is why they're more of an Xbox developer. Like, I mean, Max Payne, no, but...
Yeah.
But Microsoft should buy them, actually.
I just listened to an interview today, actually, with the lead guy at Remedy, and he said they own the Alan Wake title now.
So,
yeah.
They didn't before.
Well, Xbox published it.
Right.
And so I guess they now have publishing rights, so they can go to whoever they want and publish it with.
I think that's a game
it's now on Epic
Game Store.
Again?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's available digitally again, right?
Yeah.
Did they get all the music back, or did they swap it?
No, I think they. I'm not. Actually, I'm not sure what happened to that.
Because I think that's why
Adriano might know.
He'll probably know. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a game that I think can't be made again. I think it was also a product of its time, and it's
possibly,
not like,
but he is open to doing a sequel.
Strangely, I wouldn't be excited for it.
I wasn't as big of a fan as Alan Wake as Adriano was.
Right.
It was a cool game and definitely like unique. But I would like to see how they would take it in a next gen sense.
I think it would be fine. Like it would probably handle fine and stuff. But I just think that it was very much like Gears of War. You can appreciate because it's just a lot of shooting and lots of crap.
Yeah.
So it's like even though it's kind of lame-ish and bro-ish or like whatever. Like which was all the games of its time, you can kind of still appreciate this, but like Alan Wake is you have to be really invested in what's going on.
Yeah, but I think why Sony should buy Remedy is like Sony really seems to be focusing on story intensive or story focused games.
Yeah,
like all their first party titles are like kind of like that.
Yeah.
So I think Remedy would fit in nicely. Funny thing I learned about Quantum Break. You remember how the Quantum Break had the TV aspect in it?
Yeah.
Different writer did the TV parts than the game parts.
That seems like a bad decision.
It was weird, yeah.
Like I could see a different writer and then a lot of collaboration.
Well, they had to collaborate, but they're based in like Finland, I think, something like that.
Right.
And so the place writing the TV show was in LA.
Although, like it with conference calls, like you could work side by side with somebody every day.
Yeah, but it's just not ideal.
No.
So I thought that was kind of weird.
Sometimes it seems like the mistake is so obvious.
Yeah.
Where it's like, why do we have two different writers for this? No, it's fine. Like, what?
But he likes incorporating live action stuff because even in Control, there's like these tapes you can get from the lead scientists of the Federal Bureau of Control, and he's live action, and he's like talking on these tapes, and it's all film stuff. And And then I think the director, whenever you see him, like the director somehow gets in your mind or something like that. You have like a connection to him, like the previous director.
Right.
And he shows up to like kind of answer questions every now and then. And it's like a live action like silhouette of that guy.
Okay. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Apparently back in the day, it was super hard to put live action stuff in the game. But now I guess it's kind of somewhat easy.
That's weird too, because back in the day, like the Sega, one of the Segas was live action, had live action components. It's weird that it became difficult.
Come to think about it, Quantum Break, I had trouble running on an Xbox One.
I remember you telling me that it used to chop up a lot, right? But that was because it was streaming, wasn't it, or something? It was doing something weird with the network when your network was like.
I don't know where the live action video came from. I don't know if it was streaming or on the disc or on the hard drive or whatever. But even just the gameplay, I remember kind of
chugging out.
It doesn't feel polished.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe when the show didn't do so well, they were like, well,
like even Control doesn't feel polished.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So I kind of wish they had like a Sony backing them to kind of give them support and stuff.
Right.
Or Xbox, but like Microsoft can buy them too. You know, whatever.
I think the chances would be Microsoft would.
Yeah.
Like above Sony.
But they already made all their big purchases. I'd be surprised if they're gonna make more.
Microsoft's one of those companies though, where it's like if they just say like, you know what, I just wanted this other thing. Like the same with Disney. Like if I just like I'm sick and tired of dealing with this like I could see them buying Sony. I could see Disney buying Sony.
I'm curious though because Microsoft has fallen behind in this this generation.
Right.
How much money is Microsoft willing to give them to try to recover that?
To give who?
To give the Xbox section of Microsoft. Because they have to allocate funds, right?
Like probably a bunch.
So I just wonder how much like they're committed to pushing Xbox forward.
Probably a bunch because it like even when it did bad, it didn't do horrible.
It's still the console's still selling better than I think
like,
the last gen consoles.
It's still well on the black.
Yeah.
Well, actually, one of the things I was going to say is remember how Disney at one point had an interview where they were saying they weren't bothering with games too much. Now we're talking about like allocation of funds and stuff. This is what triggered it in my head.
Wait, what time are you talking about? Because they had their
like
own,
a long time ago, like maybe about a year ago or something.
Because they had like Disney had their own game studio,
whatever.
That their budget exploded and they collapsed.
Yeah, and
they're now going to give rights to other studios.
Right.
So they're still committed to games, but
they're committed to games because they want money.
Yeah.
But hang on a minute, they also want Spider-Man.
Disney wants.
So if they buy Sony, they now own a bunch of studios that can all make Disney licensed games, and then you can absorb Disney licensed games.
Disney's not going to buy Sony.
Why not?
It's not.
Why not?
Because now you're getting into some serious monopoly issues.
Now, hang on a minute. You
could already argue that they're too big.
They're pretty big. They're pretty big. No, but hang on a minute. Like in terms of a business decision, like if you remove that legality,
who's Disney competing with?
But if you, what do you mean?
Who are they competing with?
That's a good question. I don't really follow many studios and stuff like that though, so I couldn't really tell you.
Yeah.
But imagine, and then they also get all the licenses where there's like a bunch of Sony TV shows and such. But if they want Spider-Man, like my first thought would be they would buy the Sony movie part, right? Sony, whichever section owns Spider-Man, they would buy that. You know, get other licenses involved in it. Hooray for our lives! But it would make a lot of sense to buy the whole pack because they're like, oh, our gaming studio exploded. Sony's beating Microsoft. Yeah, all right. Why not? Why not?
They're not going to do that.
Because think about this. Think about this though. They release a new movie, a Star Wars movie or whatever, and then they go to their game devs and say, "We have a Star Wars movie. It's in production. You guys sit in on the meetings, go to the set, watch the filming, whatever, as the creatives, and we need a game out by this date."
You have to remember though, Sony has to be willing to sell.
Do they?
Yeah.
Hostile takeover.
That's even more money.
It's Disney. You said it yourself.
Yes, but they still have shareholders who want them to have money and be making money.
But imagine if you purchased Sony.
PlayStation's the only good part of Sony right now.
Yeah, but that's all. They'd be buying that and Spider-Man.
I don't think Spider-Man's worth that.
I actually think that they would get the rest of Sony relatively cheap, like the Bravia, the whole bit.
I don't even like even them being a Japanese company. I don't think they'd want to sell to an American company.
Hostile takeover, baby.
That's not easy, Matt.
Yeah, but Disney's you. Think about this though. People say like, "Oh, that's not easy." It's not easy. But we're talking about Disney. You're saying that Disney is so big that they should be broken up.
No, what I'm saying is Disney is so big that they can do other things rather than buy Sony. They can make more money elsewhere without needing Sony.
Yes, that's true.
They could start up their own studio. They screwed up the first time, yes, but they could start their own game studios. They could start 100 game studios. They screwed up once and then got scared and said, "Oh, we'll let the other guys do it."
Yeah, but how much money would it be to spin up, train, hire, et cetera, setting up a game studio that may or may not fail, versus purchasing?
They could just buy studios. They don't even need to buy Sony. Just buy other PlayStations or not PlayStations.
Why wouldn't they want everything? Do you get imagine incorporating?
It's just not.
Imagine incorporating PlayStation now.
Billions of dollars on Fox. They're not imagine spend tens of billions of dollars on Sony.
Imagine no, but think about this, right? Yes, they bought Fox in that. They're about to do Disney Plus. Imagine Disney Plus also being.
But that's why they bought.
Also
Fox.
being a game streaming service, and Sony has the infrastructure. Disney Plus, play, fucking create. They would do that. Play, create, and watch on Disney Plus.
That's already Sony's or PlayStation's thing.
Whatever it is.
Play, create, share.
Yeah, well, they're buying Sony, so they get their marketing guy, and the marketing guy's like, I got it.
If I was Disney, I would want to buy Sony, yes.
Yeah.
But I don't think they were going to.
And then you have big boys all fighting, Apple, Microsoft, and Disney. That's you'd have all fighting in general. In different market segments. Right?
They're not going to do it.
It would be good, right?
I don't know. I don't know if it would be.
Why wouldn't it be?
I don't know. Don't
you want more on your Disney Plus subscription?
I don't know if I want a bunch of Sony films.
Tell you one thing, I ain't buying that Disney Plus.
You're not?
Nope.
Why not?
I don't really want Disney stuff other than like Marvel.
Oh yeah, you don't watch Pixar. You don't really care that much about Star Wars.
Like, I'm out, man.
But they're gonna have a bunch of Fox content too.
Like what?
All the Fox.
What? Like
all the Fox movies and TV shows.
I need to know. Like, a thing is, I don't follow the studio, so I would need to know who's who.
I don't know. Simpsons day one, all 30 seasons.
That scared the hell out of me. We just heard a door close here, so
But also Hulu is going to be expanding internationally under Disney, so that'll probably come to Canada.
They're getting a little bit too big. I forgot about the Hulu angle.
All right, let's hop into our first story. Speaking of developers, Sony bought Spider-Man developer Insomniac Games. Now, Sony and Insomniac have a long relationship. They've done a lot of games for Sony exclusively.
Right.
Ratchet and Clank, Resistance, and Spider-Man, which is the biggest one. And Spider-Man, holy crap, went on to sell 13.2 million copies. That's insane.
How does that compare to GTA numbers?
That's minuscule. But this is an exclusive game on a single platform. So
yeah, that's a very good point.
I don't think anyone was surprised by this purchase. This makes complete sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
But I think you and I both want Resistance.
I want Resistance back. Hell yeah, dude.
Do you know how great that would be at E3 next year? Coming to the PS5.
Hell yeah.
Spider-Man 2, but I want Resistance.
No, fuck Spider-Man 2. We want, and I like Spider-Man. Fuck Spider-Man 2. We want Resistance back.
But clearly, if Spider-Man's selling 13.2 million copies, it's getting a sequel first.
Yeah. Or at least like remaster the original Resistance.
I don't know if that first one can be saved. You'd have to redo it, I think.
Probably, yeah. That's fine.
I would take that, though. Yeah, you're right.
I could play that game. It's not that bad.
Adriano said it was pretty rough, I think, last time he tried playing it.
But he also got into
that was like launch day PS3.
That was launch day, yeah.
So that's a long time ago.
But I did play it. Like, I played it launch day.
But back then, it was like a great looking game. Fun.
Yes, but I was going to say, though, because I've played it, I think I could play it now. Like, I wouldn't be, like, appalled.
But, okay, if they're working on Spider-Man 2 right now, let's say it comes out in like 2 years.
Can they not make two games at the same time?
Or, hell, it could come out on the PS5 next year.
Right.
But then after that, maybe a Resistance. I think Insomniac can only do one game at a time. I don't think they're that big of a studio, right?
I was going to ask, like, do they have two teams? I wasn't sure.
Although Sony could bump them up. But then is it really Insomniac at that point?
100%. Yes, it's still Insomniac. What do you mean?
Because the creatives that are currently at Insomniac are the ones that we want making a Resistance. If they bring in a bunch of other guys, we don't know what their skill is.
But maybe they would bring in more like devs and stuff that would still follow the lead of a major of the creatives.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure how all that process works, but
it would be
they gotta do Resistance. Like, come on, man.
One thing I heard is like that third Resistance didn't sell that well.
That third Resistance was bad.
And so
bad game.
That might be like kind of making them shy away. Is that franchise popular enough? But the way they could tell is by doing a remaster. But
the thing is, though, okay, the problem with Resistance in general, including like all three of them, is that the first one is like really serious, but the first one is very much a military Call of Duty-esque. You're in kind of like a squad. Sometimes you're alone, whatever, but you're in like a camp. It's like a Gears of War. There's like a campaign. There's like a grand scenario, and you're whatever. In the second game, you're like this elite squad where
it felt more arcadey.
It feels more arcadey, but it's also more difficult somehow. The capabilities are way different and stuff like that. The visuals are better at times and kind of bad in some others, but regardless, like
I remember that game being more colorful.
It was definitely more colorful, but it had like some really bad things, like the weird Google Maps looking land when you're fighting that thing way in the air.
Because wasn't that one in the 50s? Because like
it's in America.
America wasn't originally attacked, right?
No. Yeah.
So they had time to develop into the 50s before they got invaded and everything started falling.
Basically, the first game you're in Britain, Britain or France, I can't remember, because the Americans went over to try to stop the invasion.
Didn't Russia fall first?
Russia's the one that got infected. Yeah, Russia just got destroyed. Yeah. Well, what's really crazy is like no one really got involved, and it was just like, oh, Russia fell. Now what?
I don't think people liked Russia at that time.
But okay, even then, if like a major power falls, you're like, what are they going to do to us?
Yeah.
Like, you maybe should have like attacked.
Although I don't know if they were perceived as a major power at that time either.
Okay, regardless of which, that's a lot of resource there. It's a lot of land, and they're ripping through Europe at this point. They're ripping through, China, whatever. They're ripping through everything, that whole area.
Yeah.
Maybe you should be like, wait a second here. Like, this is not good.
Yeah.
And then everyone's always like, "Oh, let Britain handle it." It's like this tiny island. It's like, yeah, let me just handle this. Like,
but that's kind of World War II as well, though.
It is
where Germany just starts taking over, and then everyone's just like, "Hey,
yeah, what the hell's going on here?
Hey, don't do that."
But this is more serious. This is like, wait a second. Literally, most of the world's landmass has just fallen.
Yeah,
that's a crazy game plot, though.
I love these alternate history kind of things.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I'm kind of tired of games taking place in modern times. It's just kind of like, okay.
It's kind of like, yeah, like I can go outside and see this. Yeah.
So, but anyway, I think this is going to be good, I think. So, it'll be exciting. But Spider-Man 2 is coming first.
Ugh.
Next story here, Telltale Games is being revived, apparently. This comes to us from Polygon. So, Telltale Games shut down last year, but its assets were purchased by a company called LCG Entertainment. And they will have some of the back catalog, as well as they will be able to work on new games based on a few Telltale associated properties, as well as new licenses. The new Telltale is headed up by Jamie Otterly and Brian Waddle. Otterly said that some workers from the original Telltale games will be offered freelance roles with full-time positions possible in the future. And they could pick up on some stories where they left off, but they're going to be evaluating and determining what they want to continue some of the stories. Because I think like Wolf Among Us and stuff, they had plans for a sequel and never the studio shut down. But this is interesting.
Word on the street is they're already in crunch.
Oh jeez, is that a joke or is that?
That's a joke. Yeah,
okay.
That's a joke. Yeah.
Jesus.
Because that's what killed them. They were just like, oh wait, crunch time were pretty productive. Let's just run 24/7 crunch.
I mean, you kind of, at one hand, you kind of give them credit for trying to be ambitious, but at the second
hand,
hand,
they
bit
ambitious.
Off. That's what I'm saying. They bit off too much than they could chew.
It's too crazy.
So like they were announcing games all over the place.
People and their employees were going mad.
Yeah,
like they were going crazy.
Yeah.
This is a really weird thing to say, but I've always wanted to know what I would be like if I was driven mad.
You don't know, I don't think.
It's scary. Like I want to.
The whole point is you don't know that you're mad.
No, but that's what I was going to say. Is I need like cameras. I need a case study on me. You need to drive me mad, and then you need to somehow fix me, and then I want to see the footage.
Yeah. Walking Dead won't be coming back because that license is now owned by Skybound, which has its own plans for game releases.
GG. What'd you just do there?
I just activated something. I'm using my Apple Pencil and just...
You just activated the draw mode.
Smart annotation or drawing.
What?
Smart annotation adds marks that move with your text. Drawing creates original artwork and illustrations. So what the hell do I want?
Do you want either?
Smart annotation? Yeah, I don't want either. You're right. Okay.
I was say like,
there you go.
Did you mean to activate any of that? Like,
no. Again, this is one of those things though, where like they're gonna have different developers, so it's hard to get excited about this if you are excited about it, because the games might not have the same kind of charm as their original games.
Yes.
You know, like this is just paperwork right now. So, and of course, controversy follows. There was a story that Adrian had put in the thing too about some of the ex-employees kind of this is rubbing them the wrong way or something like that.
Because they're only being offered freelance.
Well, not just that. I think there's several issues that people had.
The thing is with this, and I did not read up on this particular case, but as a general thing is like if your employer had to let you go for some reason, it sucks for everyone involved, including the employer. The employer may have like screwed up and did the crunch time thing and that's everything. That's screwed up. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm not trying to belittle it, but like. The situation is just a bad situation in generally, unless you're being fired because like you did something stupid, like you beat somebody up or something. You know what I mean? Like unless you had like, severe misconduct, like you can't blame the company. Be like, dude, you're beating people up, get out of here. You know what I mean? But like if in this case the whole company collapsed, so like
you should probably call the cops on that one, man.
Yeah, well, whatever. Like however the company handles it, like if you're pushing people or something,
man,
like whatever.
You're beating too many people.
Yeah,
we gotta let you go, man.
You son of a bitch! Start beating the guy up that's firing you.
You're messing with their crunch time.
But anyway, you would be like rubbed the wrong way. But like this is like a new company being formed essentially. So like, how can you be angry?
That was my issue too. Is like I saw something that they wanted like this new company to like cover some of the debts of the employees, but it's like these guys didn't make the mistake. They didn't screw up the last company. They simply bought the rights to these titles. And
I have a problem with that too because
although I mean it does depend if they bought the company or it's simply the rights to the games.
Right. No, but I don't even agree with that necessarily because even at that point you're at a bailout stage where it's like it's literally changing hands so hard that like it could have collapsed to literally nothing and we could have seen something in 5 years rather than the few months that have passed. The thing is there's nothing saying like, and it sucks, but as an employee, your employer pays you to do a job. If that employer can't pay you, generally they'll lay you off or there'll be some sort of agreement set up or whatever. But you as an employee, generally, and this is generally, are not dedicated enough to continue working if you're not being paid. So it is a two-way street, if that makes sense. If the company runs out of money and lays you off and you're pissed off saying, now I can't afford my mortgage.
Well, I don't know.
What if the company tried to keep you on and just said, I'm just not going to pay you?
I don't know what actually is the debt they were talking about. Let me see if we can find it here.
Yeah, we better check our sources here. But regardless of which, like people will do that. Like I have not read up on this particular issue, but people will say that like, how am I supposed to afford my mortgage? And it sucks. I understand that. Like I would hate to be in that situation. It sucks all around. But that company doesn't owe you your mortgage. It is your mortgage. You need to go find another job. And it fucking sucks. It is a bad situation. But like I can't see holding a grudge against that company unless they did mass misconduct. In this case, it was the crunch time thing, fine, but that affected everybody. Like a lot of those employees moved on, got another job somewhere else, and it sucked. But like, What else is going to happen? Like, what do you want from these people? Big companies fall. Like, it's just the way it is.
Oh, okay, so it's not pay the people's debts. It's pay the debts of Telltale's original management.
What does that mean?
The company must have been in debt because like they weren't making money, right?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but people are calling for boycotts of this new company. But this isn't the same people who made the mistake.
This is what I mean. It's like people are they're trying to cancel things. At the end of the day, here people always think that a company just because it's a company is a big evil thing. But I have a question. About this. You know how like Papa John's, for example, or like other companies have started out as like a mom and pop shop essentially, and then eventually grew.
Yeah.
At what point do they become evil? Is it at 2 restaurants, 3, 4, 6?
It's not.
Is it when they open an office? When are they the evil corporation we could screw over?
It's not the size.
It's not the size.
It's how they treat the employees or the environment or the society as a whole.
But I get that. Like, that's what I mean. Is like I sympathize with the crunch time. I sympathize with people going to debt or whatever. Like, I understand that. But my question is like, if a mom and pop shop had to fire, if a mom and pop shop had to fire all of its employees,
yeah,
okay.
I don't think
that
anyone
company,
blames them.
No one's going to say like, man, like screw those guys. You know, like maybe some of the employees are going to be pissed off, but it's not going to be like a mass, like these guys are evil. But if this pizza joint that opens up 10 pizza joints and then has to eventually fire everybody, at what point in their size and then they had to fire everybody are they evil?
That's not what constitutes them as evil. And not all big companies are evil. Not all companies are evil. No one is saying that.
Not necessarily evil, but I would say that people think like, oh, this company's big enough, I can just screw them over. Who cares?
But here's the thing, okay? The companies that get too big, they stop caring about the individual employee, and so they have no concern about their well-being, whereas the mom and pop shop does, because they know the people, they talk with them every day.
Right,
and they have a relationship with their employees.
No, I agree with that.
The big corporations is they see a number going down on their little Excel sheet.
Yeah,
and they say, "Oh, fire 200 people."
But hang on a minute here. But how were those people treated prior to that? Did those people show up? Like a lot of these companies, for example, the story that came out about Epic employees having to work all this crazy overtime and stuff like that. Yes, I agree. That's misconduct. That's not good. Hooray for, that's it. That's bad.
Yeah.
That's bad. I agree with that. But if a company is just like not giving you a whole bunch of amenities, but like a lot of these companies will have amenities to go to the gym, or there's a gym on site, so you can use it for free or whatever. There's like, a cheaper or a free cafeteria on site. Stuff like that. Like, let's just say the company sees you as a number, but they say, oh, all of these numbers, meaning their employees, get a cafeteria, a gym pass, and they get a free parking pass or a discounted parking pass, whatever. They give the basic amenities and they fire them. Everyone's like, oh, this company treated me like shit. Did they? Or did they just treat you like a number because at some point when you have 20,000 employees, I can't know everybody, or a person can't know everybody.
Yeah, that's fine.
But like people would dictate that as evil. They'd be like, oh, it's this big, dumb, evil corporation. But is it? All it did was grow so fast that something collapsed at some point and they had to fire 200 people. Because those employees...
I don't know if people do call those corporations evil. Sometimes companies lose money.
Right.
And yes, they make up for it by cutting employees. But I think the problem with some of these big corporations is when they're making billions of dollars a year, they have a huge amount of power.
Sure.
To influence politics.
Sure.
They then lobby and do all this
against the employees?
Not against the employees, but they lobby to Congress. Okay. We're talking the U.S. here. Congress then says, okay, we'll give you some tax cuts.
Yeah.
And we'll mask it under the guise of this is going to lead to more employment and higher wages and more benefits for the employees of the companies. Those companies then take their tax cuts and give themselves bonuses to the executives,
of course,
and buy back more shares, increasing the price of the value of their company.
Right.
So they use their power to convince Congress to lie to the American people.
Right.
Just to give themselves more money.
No,
and that's when you say, okay, what's happening here?
Stuff like that, I get.
Or they lobby to Congress to have them reduce environmental regulations so they can dump a bunch of crap into the water. Or a bunch of smoke into the air.
Companies like that, I 100% agree. Like
those are the evil corporations.
If they're treating employees poorly, or like they're dumping shit in rivers, I get that. I'm not trying to say that. I'm talking about.
I would say that a majority of people are not considering companies evil just because they fire people.
I kind of got the impression, and it's my impression. I didn't like do a poll or something, but it was my impression that at a certain size, people were like, "Oh, these people are just." A good example, actually, if you take it out of companies in general, is YouTubers. YouTubers kind of like, they'll start out, whatever, they slowly gain an audience. They get to a point where success is like, just a part of their life. Like, they have a lot of followers, a lot of viewers, whatever. So they have like a general success level. And then people start to shit on them. That's what I mean by people think it's evil. When do people start turning on them where they're like, well, Ninja has enough, or, whoever, like Tim the Tan Man has enough followers, like... screw this guy. And I'm not saying it's necessarily the majority, but it's like a loud minority.
It's part of human nature, though. The crabs in the bucket situation.
They try to pull everyone back down.
Yeah.
Goddamn humans.
Yeah.
Goddamn humans.
Humans are selfish. We're by nature. What happened is before we were intelligent, survival of the fittest and getting what you need to survive was simply surviving.
Yeah.
It transformed into greed when we became intelligent. And that's why humans are so disgusting.
Jesus.
Because we want everything for ourselves. And if we see someone else, you get envious, you get jealous, and then you start hating them. You know what I mean? So you see Ninja rising up. Ninja seems like a perfectly decent guy to me. I have no problem with Ninja.
Yeah. He hasn't said anything that I've heard that like has pissed me off, but people will like shit on him.
I'm glad he's successful, but there's going to be people who see that and say, why can't I have that? Why can't that be me?
Yeah, and like, or I love the people that will say like, get a real job. It's like, well, define, please. Like, define
right.
a real job.
Yeah.
Like, he's making money.
If you have a job that
job.
gets you money, you're doing good.
Yeah, like, what do you want people to specifically all build roads?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like,
the whole point is to have a better job. We're trying to make it so society can offer better jobs for
misery
everyone.
loves company.
Exactly, yeah.
Bastards.
Last game, and then I want to get to your query corner question too, so we're kind of running out of time. So let's get the last.
Well, we always go over anyway.
I like to try to keep it to an hour though.
I don't. It's too hard to do that. That's why I don't care.
So our last story for this week: Steam's business model is unrealistic, according to Ubisoft executives. Comes to us from GameSpot. Ubisoft executive Aaron Gallagher, it was Chris Early, who is the VP for partnerships and revenue at the Assassin's Creed company, has spoken up to share his thoughts on Steam. Speaking to the New York Times, he said about their business model as it stands today is unworkable. And he quotes, damn it.
Are you doing your Pennsylvania freaking smart annotations again?
It's unrealistic. The current business model they have, it doesn't reflect where the world is today in terms of game distribution. So what he's talking about is the Steam's business model is the 30%. Steam keeps 30% of the game sales, and 70% goes to the developer and publishers.
Okay.
By contrast, Epic Games has a much lower ratio.
Okay.
Where the developer keeps 88%, and then the 12% goes to Epic.
So what's the argument here that like who's arguing? I missed the original point now.
Ubisoft is basically saying that
Ubisoft is saying this. That's what I missed. Okay.
An executive from Ubisoft is saying that 30% is too high a price to ask.
I would say yes, definitely. But the one thing I will say is that if I was a very small game dev that didn't have any marketing budget, Steam seems like a really good place to get on there because they have things like that discovery feed where you like go in and you're like, I'm interested in this, not interested, I have this, whatever. You like click through your discovery queue, I think they call it. And then you're also shown off when you have a sale. You're also shown off when you're new and you're popular, so you get put on the slider. Like
they've opened the floodgates, though. I remember hearing stories like there's more games were released on Steam in the last year than its entire history.
They opened the floodgates, because of indie games.
That's insane.
Well, it's also because the indie games were probably starting to stack up so much, where it was like all these games that are decent probably don't have a place to go. So Steam's like, well, you have to live somewhere. But the thing is, though, is like Steam doesn't have to offer a discovery queue. And that's like a free marketing tool, really.
But if they can get a game to sell more copies, that means they get more money as well, though. So it's in their interest to.
But
showcase.
isn't that worth 30%? I mean, it might not be worth exactly 30, but like 30 doesn't seem too high to me as an outsider.
I actually feel like Ubisoft is big enough, dude, just to say we're not going to be on Steam or Epic.
I was going to say
come to our own Origin or EA did it.
Yeah,
and people seem to move over to that. I don't hear.
Like why are they not just saying like the hell with this? I'm going Uplay.
When the Division came out and it was on the Epic store and it was not on Steam, sales on their Uplay store went up. So I feel like you could even cut out Epic if you wanted to.
Yeah, it's strange. Like you will lose some people. Like some people are like I'm only going on Steam.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Do you really want those people?
Which I still disagree with. I agree with some of the stuff, like where they say this doesn't have cloud saves, doesn't have this.
Oh,
I get that.
Yeah,
like,
for sure, yeah.
But like at the same time, it's also like Steam didn't have that like a day one. Like Steam improved, over the years. To me, I don't know if 30% is that high as an outsider.
It seems to be the industry standard too, because as far as I know, I think both Google and Apple take 30% of their.
That's what I mean.
The stuff offered on their stores.
Like when you hit like 40 or 35, you're starting to be like,
that's a lot.
You're hitting 50, like you're getting close to 50 now.
40 is a lot, yeah.
Because I assume some companies would lose 30, they would like probably round it up so like they would lose 50, but their other 20% would be marketing because they'd probably get even more sales. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But anyway, that's where we're at. Now, Matt, tell us about your query corner question.
So this was sparked by Control. So I don't have like a formal title for this. It's just sort of an impression I'm getting, and it's weird. I can't really pinpoint it. So we had booted up Control, and Control to me seemed very not bad. Like it looked fun, whatever. But it seemed very strange. And what's strange about it is like this gen, everything seems to be kind of open world. So you have usually a massive open world or like really big regardless. Lots of exploration, lots of whatever. There's always like a bunch of activities, a bunch of missions, a bunch of stuff to do. Usually there's a linear story in amongst where you drive to this base and start this linear mission. Drive to this base, start this linear mission, whatever. That's kind of the general open world formula. But people will complain about these games, like the open world games, as like, oh, the activities are repetitive or the missions are repetitive. It's like, oh, just drive A to B or just go to A, kill this man, come back, or go here, pick this up, come back. Like people will complain about the repetitiveness. But then when we booted up Control, where for a long time with the exception of Gears of War, I've really been playing open world games mostly. Mm-hmm. Lots of Fallout 76, Kingdom Come Deliverance. I can't even think of another one now, but like a bunch of them, right? Like a whole Days Gone is a good one. Like it seemed like Control wasn't worth in Canada $92 price tag with tax, approximately. It seemed like it was an indie game because it seemed limited. It seemed like, oh, I'm in a building, I'm shooting at things, I'm throwing things around, I'm upgrading my powers. It seemed like something like the very first Max Payne. And I'm not saying it looked bad or like controlled bad. It was modern standard, it looked good and everything, like whatever. But I don't know why I'm getting this impression when I agree with the opinions on the open world games about those activities are sometimes very repetitive.
I think there should be actually a conversation to be had in the industry because I remember people talking about this when Skyrim came out, is that like they said, like, oh, you can play Skyrim for 300 hours and it's $60 US. Mm-hmm. And then you would have a game like Call of Duty, which I guess, I mean, if you count the multiplayer, you can play infinitely, right? But let's just say the campaign's like 5 hours. And it's also $60 US. And it's like, how can you compare the two? You know what I mean?
Yes. It's a good...
But then how do you price Control so it makes money? Because the games probably cost similar budgets, Well,
what I'm wondering is this because most games are open world now, or did the gaming industry just evolve to be open world? And what I mean by that is like, did our consoles and stuff evolve to the point where we could make open worlds?
I think that's the case because if you remember open world games and even back to the PS2,
right,
they were very like the Spider-Man games
or Vice City.
It was very limited,
very small,
and you kind of you would just travel to the next location.
Oh yeah,
and that would be the extent of the city. But now I think it's become we have the processing power.
Oh yeah,
and even just like the teams have gotten bigger who make games and stuff that you can fill those worlds with activities and cool things to do and sights to see and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's just a natural way to go. And they asked, I was listening to a podcast with Yves Guillemot, and they asked him like a lot of Ubisoft games are open world, and that's sometimes a criticism of them, right? And he said that they like to give players the freedom to play the game how they want to play it. And so that's kind of the idea too, I think.
I like that because if you think about it, I'm going to come back to Red Dead. So Red Dead's like obviously a really big open world game, like Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
And if I were to say what Control is, and not in terms of theme, but in terms of scale maybe, and I've only played it for maybe 2 hours, was Control to me seemed like just Saint Denis. Imagine Red Dead Redemption 2, but just in Saint Denis. And Saint Denis has lots of nice things. It has lots of detail. There's stuff going on. It's like an open world game, or it's like an open world area, I should say. Open world area, but it's not a big world, right? Like just Saint Denis. There's lots of missions, lots of stuff to do. You can get better clothes there. You can buy stuff there, whatever. But you can't go out in the wilderness. Whereas Red Dead, if I'm like, man, like, I've been in this urban center for a long time. I'm going to go into the mountains and literally camp. Like, you can literally do that in Red Dead.
Yeah. But I think one of the things why you might be skewing your opinion on it is like in Control, it's been kind of like taken over. And so there's not just people walking around. It doesn't feel like it's an open world. It's just empty, right?
But it's one building.
Yeah.
It's still claustrophobic in that it is one setting. Like,
but that's more of a semantic thing.
Yes.
Than because you know it's one building, you think of it as confined.
Which is kind of logical, to be honest.
Yes, but it's actually pretty massive, and there's multiple layers to it.
Yeah,
and there's different levels and different wings and sections and stuff. You know, so it is an open world because I can go anywhere in that house I want to. Although some parts are blocked off because I need like access, and you get access as you play through the game. But the whole world is fast travel. There's fast travel locations and stuff like that. So it is an open world, but it's just kind of all the same, I guess. Because you're all in this facility. So you see the same desks and stuff like that, and same paper and same projectors, and, you know.
That's a really good point. It feels like...
And that could be game design, too, where they want you to feel like you're stuck inside this place.
But this game feels like Fear, the game Fear back in the day. Maybe not the second one, because that was more of a co-op shooter, but the original one, let's say. The very, very first one was very much like you go through facilities. It's like a linear game, right? It's like a shooter. They drop you off at a facility. Normally it's like an office or something like that, some sort of like concrete building, essentially, an institute, and an institution of some sort. And then you go through it like a hospital, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Some sort of like corporate sort of building. I think I'm wondering if this type of game, Control, is old. In the same way that we think Gears of War is old. Whereas, like, I'm not super excited for Gears of War, but I'm going to have Game Pass, so I don't care. Mm. But I would not buy Gears of War for $92 approximately Canadian.
I may have, just because I want to get some use out of my Xbox.
which is fair. Like, the game's
Although
fine.
I might just play 5 on my PC. Might as well, right?
Well, I mean, you can just play 5 on your Xbox as well. You have Game Pass.
No, but I'm saying I have a PC that can run it a lot better.
Whatever.
Why not run it on there?
You have Game Pass there too, don't you?
Yeah.
So there you go. Like, whatever. But like whatever. Like, that's like the whole Microsoft thing. But what I mean is like that type of game to me doesn't feel like a $92 plus like or with tax game. It doesn't feel like a $92 game. It feels to me like a $40 game.
This is the problem with game prices and why I had a problem with basing your review on the price as well.
Right.
Because the value is subjective. You value an open world like Red Dead.
Yeah.
Whereas I value that as well.
Yeah.
But I also value a linear story like a Last of Us, where it takes you in one direction and it's not open world. I value that equally to a massive open world like Red Dead.
Wouldn't that still knock my review down, regardless of the price?
What I'm saying is the price should not be a factor. Only if you're giving a score, I think, is my biggest problem with the price. Because then the score has to change. If the game goes down to $50,
right?
Like based on that logic, the review would have to go up.
Well, I can't remember where I fell on this argument. I think I said that price should not be in the review.
I don't know.
Or I think I may have said I'm impartial as long as it's disclosed, but I wouldn't put it in there.
I'm perfectly fine with someone saying like, "Oh, this game isn't worth, $70 or whatever."
I'm fine with that.
But if they say let's say they gave it like a 5 because it's not worth the money.
No, I don't agree with that.
But then the game goes down to like $1.
Yeah.
Hell, that might be worth it. That might make it a 7.
No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I disagree. I don't think the price should be in the score or...
Yeah. You can definitely say it as an opinion. That's perfectly fine. Just don't make it part of your equation when making the score.
Well, because what I was thinking is like if we take it out of games, we put it into a different similar media like movies. If you can't say that a movie that was really good is bad because the ticket was $10,000.
Right.
You can't say that movie is bad. It's the entrance cost is bad. It's a bad entry cost.
Right. It almost should be held separately. Because like money, people value money differently too. If you're a millionaire,
You don't care.
A $90 game is nothing to you.
No.
So, that piece of information is useless to them.
Yes.
But if you're someone who only buys one game every couple months or one game a year even, you're going to really value that money you put on that game. So,
well, it's the same thing with phones. Like, I'm thinking about upgrading my phone, and people will be like, well, it's ridiculous. You're going to spend $1,000. But it's like, but I use it every day, all the time, for work, for everything, for social.
Like, your phone's
everything.
your life. So it's like, yes, that is worth
It is $1,000 to me. People are like, well, I want to spend less. I'm like, no, I want to buy the best because I use the shit out of it.
Yeah.
If you're a person that only texts, that makes sense to not want to buy a thing. But you can't say that my phone's bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what? It's a good actually argument that I never thought about this, which is kind of going a little bit off topic. But the money in the review argument is you can't review something bad based on price because you can't review somebody else's object. So, for example, if I buy the Note 10 Plus, it's the best or it's the newest Samsung flagship device. If I buy the Note 10 Plus, I buy it. No one else. I buy it. You then go and buy a cheaper Android phone. You can't say that my phone is bad because of the price. You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't go to me and be like, "Well, your phone is faster, has a better screen, better speakers, has a bigger screen, better camera, has the visual thing is like subjective. But let's say they like the visuals better, so you like the visuals are better and whatever. Mine is really good, or yours in this case is really good, but it's budget, so it has a lesser screen, lesser camera, but just a little bit.
Yeah,
you can't say mine's bad. You know what I mean? You couldn't come to me and be like, your phone's worse. You're like, literally isn't though.
Right.
And the reason why I say reviewing somebody else's item is because you didn't pay for this. I did. So you're not affected by the price.
Yeah. Although, the one thing I could see is like an entire review is an opinion of one person.
Yeah.
Right. So if they want to put the price in, if that's something that they are including as their opinion, then maybe that's okay. But I still have trouble with it affecting the score. If you remove the score, talk about the price all day. I don't care. I just think things become weird when you have that score at the end.
I think it's fair to have a score and then just say like we didn't like the price does not affect our scores.
And typically when they say like, oh, this game isn't worth that much money, they're speaking in broad terms of the average gamer and what they buy.
Of course,
right. So they're trying to kind of encapsulate as many people as possible. Of course, they're not going to get everyone in that comment. So,
well, what's interesting is like I'm going to buy that new Call of Duty, and I'm probably going to buy it twice. I'm probably going to get an Xbox on PlayStation.
Jeez.
But because you guys might want to play it. Like if you guys want to play it, I'm going to buy it on PlayStation, and if like my Xbox buddies want to play it on there, I'm just going to buy it on there.
I'm probably buying it. Yeah.
So like if everyone wants to buy it, like as I value the multiplayer enough, even though it's like repetitive and whatever.
Yeah.
And it's very closed, like Control, like you have. Whatever, let's say 5 maps, probably more, but let's say there's 5 maps. You have 5 maps, a certain amount of guns, and you're just doing the same 5 modes, let's say. 5 maps, 5 modes, and that's it. And it's the same thing over and over again, or a story that takes 5 hours.
Yeah.
All 5s. But like, I value that more. That's kind of why I wanted to like drive home the fact that Control is like polished and looks good and looked fun and everything else, because I was like sitting beside Tim playing it right on our stream. Mm-hmm. I wasn't playing it myself. But like it looked fun and everything. I wasn't trying to say the game itself is bad, but it's just...
You just wouldn't pay full price for it.
No, it's something where it's... If you said, oh, Call of Duty is selling the multiplayer and the single player separate, like this new one, if that was the case, I wouldn't buy the single player. I'd be like, no, the heck with this. I'm just going to buy the multiplayer.
I'd probably only buy the single player.
Yeah, see, like, no.
And I would probably pay $90 for it.
No, see, I would not do that. See,
because that's basically what I've done with the last few Call of Duties, is I've bought it for the single player. And I didn't buy Black Ops 4 because there was no single player.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, well, let me ask you this then. Do you think, and like maybe this is a question that we could like ask air and off air, but like when a game becomes not open world, so like Control, in my opinion...
I'd argue it's open world.
But like not a vast open world with like different biomes and like you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So like when you're talking about you're in this like office of Control, literally. This office building. Isn't it much quicker to make? Isn't it easier to make? Isn't it less effort by a fair margin? Because imagine crafting a world where everything has to work. You have to like, you know, whether you have like if you have a game where you have to traverse it via a car, you can't make the world all cliffs. You know what I mean? You have to make everything accessible. You have to shape things to be accessible. And then you have to have, you don't have to, but like generally you'd have little Easter eggs and little landmarks and cool things. And that all has to play into the fact that there's story missions, side missions, and the missions all affect each other. Sometimes they affect the world. Like it's a whole bunch of stuff.
The thing is though, now I don't know, I'm not a game developer, you know, I'm not sure what goes into it. But from what I've just seen on like dev diaries and stuff, those open worlds, a lot of it is reused assets. So it's like you're going to see the same mountain. They'll change it up a bit so it looks different. But it's kind of all the same thing. All the trees, there's only like a handful of trees, and they're all just like spread out, and they just kind of put them there. It's not like they're going in like hand putting every little single thing. You know what I mean?
No. Well, a good technical example would be...
Although Assassin's Creed Odyssey has so many different changes and so many different islands and different looks, it's incredible. That one must have taken a long time.
I wonder if something like
Red Dead probably took a long time.
Red Dead probably took a long time, but what about like 76?
Yeah, I don't know. That has some different biomes too, doesn't it?
It has the Savage Divide, the forest, the top part, which I never remember. The like whatever, like it has a bunch, like the ash heap.
Mm-hmm.
But like something like Oblivion was procedurally generated, and then they handcrafted the places. They like procedurally generated the like mountains and such.
Maybe they still do that, something to that extent.
I think that's why they like the creative engine, because they've made that. I don't know if they made it or bought the plugin for. I don't know how that works. I'm not a game dev, but like I'm pretty sure it's procedurally generated, and then they handcraft the sections, which is interesting because it's like, is the computer then choosing the shape of everything? Like, isn't that weird?
Well, you had to put parameters on it, of course. Otherwise, the computer's going to go nuts.
But like how? But then at what point is it no longer procedurally generated?
I think it's probably like, oh, we want mountains here, and so bloop, mountains show up. You know what I mean? Like the computer knows how to make, I think, basic landscapes, probably, and they just say, oh, I want a lake here, and it will give you a lake and whatnot. Or maybe they're handcrafted and everything. I don't know. I'm not a developer, so.
Well, this would be a really good question. Is I would assume, and again, I'm assuming as an outsider that the control office would be handcrafted, whereas these larger games have handcrafted. If we assume that they're going along the lines of Oblivion, there's procedurally generated general landscapes with handcrafted sections,
and they had to make those landscapes at some point too, right? Like the computer can't just say, "Here's mountains," right?
It might be able to do it because it would understand what ground is and stuff. Like a game engine would understand what running is and stuff.
Right.
So you might be able to say, I need a lake, and it knows what a lake is. I need a river. I need a moat. I need a whatever.
Mm-hmm. But at some point they would have had to make that engine.
The engine creator, whether that be the game dev themselves or like, because that would be a totally different job, right?
Because I think Sony, all their studios use like kind of their own, right?
That I don't know.
Because I don't think they're using Epic or anything like that, or the Unreal Engine. I mean.
Well, I'll mention another thing too about Control then too is so like maybe the world took longer because it may be handcrafted. Like I don't know what the difference between handcrafting versus procedural with handcrafting, right? I don't know. Mm-hmm. But the thing is like that game felt very, like in Red Dead is a good example. When in Red Dead people complained about how you like open the door. Like everything is a very deliberate. It's like turn door handle, push door open, walk over to dresser. Oh, I want to rob this dresser. Open the top drawer, look inside, open the bottom, kneel over, open, whatever. You check every little tiny little thing in Red Dead. Yeah. Everything's real time in Red Dead. So why is it that something like Control, which didn't have to deal with that massive world, your character feels like she's floating in there. You know what I'm trying to say? She's not stepping on each step. She's jumping kind of freeform and kind of like bouncing off of things to an extent. Yeah. Not like arcadey, but like, you know what I mean? Like in Red Dead, if you hit like a railing, you hit that railing. Like
it
you
feels
fall
like he's
over
in the
and
world.
stuff.
Yeah.
He's in the world. He's getting hurt. Like the freaking horses trip. They trip on stuff and you go flying and you might live on a horse accident or you might be dead. Like fucking dead. Like it's a legitimate horse accident. It's like hopefully there's no tree there. Like seriously, right?
Yeah.
Or there's been times where I've like fallen into like I've been running full tilt with a horse and you'll get like it'll trip on like a little ravine thing. But like I'll be fine because I'll land like on the other side of the little ravine thing, and my horse is donezo kind of thing.
Yeah.
But in something like Control, she just kind of seems like she's placed there.
I think that just has to do with the talent of the dev who handles those kind of things. Because there's someone who handles the movement and all that sorts of stuff, right?
Right.
So
but
I think it's just kind of on the talent of that person and how much time and money they're willing to put into the development of that process.
Right.
You know, and like Control definitely did not cost as much as Red Dead 2 cost.
Of course.
So
of course.
Yeah.
But like they could have made a Red Dead experience as in like with the deliberate door openings and like the steps and stuff like that in an office.
But maybe they can't. Maybe they don't have the time or the money or the personnel they need to actually get that done.
See, but then there begs the question: is it then worth $92? Because you're like, oh, Red Dead costs more, but Red Dead is better physics, better everything. Papa John's.
But this is the same as movies, though. Look at Endgame.
Right.
Okay. The whole thing. A lot of it is CG, and it looks fantastic.
Right.
It's these massive budgets, massive production quality.
Sure.
Bunch of actors. You know, that movie ticket still costs the same as it does for any other movie.
That, in my opinion, is different because it's just you reserving a spot in the theater itself.
But even take the length of movies. Some movies are 3 hours. Some movies are an hour and a half.
Yeah.
The ticket price remains the same.
That's interesting. Although you do pay for different types. Like
it seems like you're just paying access. And then whatever value you get comes after the fact. And that's up to you to decide.
Well, what I was going to say is maybe it would be home release would be the bigger question. Is Infinity War or whatever going to be worth more in home release, or is it going to retain its value for longer than other DVDs would? If you have a direct-to-DVD movie or a direct-to-Blu-ray movie, it's going to maybe come out at $20 versus $30 or something.
Most of the Marvel movies cost $24.99 when they come to home release. John Wick Chapter 3 was $19.99.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
So like in terms of the theater, the sketchiness with the admission, right? The sketchiness with the admission versus the length versus like what you're paying for value is the fact that they have it down to a science. You're paying for admission into the theater. I guarantee you they know, oh, it's a 3-hour movie. We sell more concessions. Mm-hmm. Like it's things like that. Like me, I hate being thirsty. I'm fine with being hungry, but I hate being thirsty.
Although,
I would always buy a drink for a long movie.
I do think longer movies are harder to sell to the cinemas.
There's that too, maybe, yeah. But they'll probably have that ratio figured out.
Like Blade Runner, I think they didn't like it being that long. That was a big old 3-hour movie.
Well, that's probably also because it's Blade Runner.
But Endgame, they knew it was going to be popular, so they were probably happy to take Endgame.
Of course.
Yeah.
Plus, it's IMAX. So, like that's why it's IMAX, right? So, like, you have the better theater, whatever. But they've bought it once, and then they've left it. Mm-hmm. So, it's not, you know what I mean? It's not like it did... Well, I mean, it might be a depreciating asset, but, like, people are still paying the same amount to get in. Mm-hmm. So, what I'm saying is like...
That'd be interesting, actually. Let's say, like, a couple weeks after the movie came out,
right.
The price goes down in half or something.
No, see, they wouldn't.
Would more people go and see the movie? I don't know.
They wouldn't do that because I guarantee you they're doing the balance with the damn concessions.
Yeah,
they definitely got that balance figured out. We know it's this movie this much. We know it's IMAX, so there's more leg room. Like they definitely have figured out. You know, they've done the market research. Where they're like, oh, there's more room in IMAX, so some people feel more comfortable buying a larger popcorn or something ridiculous. You know, something that we don't even think of.
But movie profits in the theaters is declining. So even though box office numbers are like going through the roof, for some reason they're struggling to keep up. That's why they're trying to push the concession stuff so hard. That's why like the IMAX stuff came out because they're trying to look for ways to get more money out of fewer and fewer people going to the theater.
I think though, and I mean, you have to as a business owner like try to react to stuff. I'm not saying not to react, but the thing is like the movie date isn't going anywhere. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, no one's going to be like, man, I'm not going to go to the movies. Like, no one's going to do that.
I don't know.
People aren't going to be like, I'm going to wait for my Marvel movie for like 6 months. Yes, there's going to be those people. Like, my parents are a prime example. They haven't been in a movie theater in years because it's like, oh, it costs dollars. I can't do that. Right? But they'll happily watch Netflix. Right? So they'll wait for Netflix. Yes, there will be always people like that, but there's going to be people out there that will be like, well, I want to take this person to the movies, so I'm going to go do that. Or I'm not waiting, I'm going to go do this.
I'm pretty sure that they were complaining about theater revenue going down before Netflix really took off. I think this has just been a steady decline for them. For some reason, I think people are just going to the theater less. I don't know.
Be a good question as to like whether streaming services even affected it, because there's always rentals. There was always that type of stuff. And rentals
but
were cheap.
Not as easily accessible though.
No,
like now it's literally at like the touch of a button.
But there's also something weird too. Is remember when years ago now? I mean, this is now way off the topic of control, but we kind of talked about that a lot. But remember years ago they had this thing, and it was on flip phones, where it was like watch the game on your flip.
Yeah.
Why didn't that steal enough money from like ESPN and that to make them panic?
Because weren't they the ones doing it?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm asking.
I think they were the ones doing it.
So it would be the same, but like, wouldn't they be panicking about like, why aren't people watching our satellite channel? Like, we're broadcast. We have broadcast equipment
because
here.
For some reason, sports has always been kind of at the front of getting to where people watch.
See, maybe these companies in the movies and that type of thing need to be more like the sports guys, because they're probably just chill. Like, oh, people are watching here now, whatever.
But they don't have a theater that people have to go to watch their. I mean, you can go to the games itself, but they don't have like ESPN doesn't have theaters all over the country that you can go to watch the sports games.
No, yes.
So they're just looking to get access wherever they can. But the theater is stuck in one place.
Yes.
It can't come into your living room.
No.
So.
Well, the thing that the theater could do is they already have like digital purchases in some cases and digital rentals as well with the stupid super ticket. But anyway.
See, that's another weird thing. Is like, why aren't I buying movies from Cineplex? They should have been having the digital sales before iTunes did.
I'll tell you right now, if they gave you the HD version of the movie, because I believe it's always SD. I've only checked once on one super ticket, but the one super ticket I checked was it gave you the SD version of the movie.
That's not good, yeah.
If they gave me the HD version of the movie, and you can upgrade after you go see the movie, you don't have to buy the super ticket immediately. Mm-hmm. If I'm like, Jesus, I want to buy that. I know it's going to be $20. It's only going to be $11 now. I'm just going to buy it.
I don't know how much people value this, but I also want the bonus features, though.
Okay.
So I would have to see if that version comes with bonus features. Because the iTunes versions pretty much always do.
Right. But I mean, maybe they would throw things in like that, like for an additional 99 cents, get everything. Or like, you know what I mean? Because they would probably be able to cut it where it's like, you paid, what's a IMAX movie now?
1950, I think.
1950. So
Canadian.
Yeah, this is Canadian now. So we go to the movie for 1950, and then they say upgrade to a super ticket, and it's going to be $11 more. Okay, within 48 hours or whatever it is, and you want to upgrade. So we see the movie, we watch, I don't know, John Wick. We really like it, and John Wick's going to be around $20 on Blu-ray. You're like, the hell with this. I'm going to upgrade to a super ticket. But they know people want HD. But like, they could drive that shit home. Like, they need to drive that stuff home.
And the digital cost is not more than the SD version. That really kind of bothered me.
That pisses me off.
I understand more on the Blu-ray front because it's a different disc, different technology. Maybe it takes longer to print onto it.
I mean, that makes sense.
I don't know, but that makes sense. But when it comes to the digital thing, okay, you have to store a few more gigabytes of space in your server. Does that cost $10 more?
It doesn't, because there's multiple people accessing that one thing. You're just taking a copy of it. It's not a unique copy is generated for every person downloading.
Yeah. That's why I was happy when iTunes said, no, 4K is same price. And there's only freaking Disney who said no.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
Because they have their Disney Plus and soon to be Sony.
Yeah. But they're playing ball with Apple on the Disney Plus front, so that's nice.
What does that mean?
It's incorporating into the Apple TV app and stuff.
What a mess. What a mess.
If only Netflix would do it.
What a mess our streaming lives. I'm kind of glad Netflix is being like this. I'm glad Netflix is being like this.
I probably watch more of their stuff. I don't go to their app because most of my stuff is through the Apple TV app now.
I only with the exception of my own collection, I only go to Netflix.
Oh, jeez. All right. That's it for this week. Thanks for joining us. I'm sure we'll get some critiques from Adriano on something we said. But other than that,
well, this Adriano sucks.
Me and Matt stream on Wednesdays most of the time, I think. Sometimes. Twitch.tv/DayOnePatchMedia. You can catch us there.
And our next show is going to be live.
We had our good friend. Oh, that's right.
Well, I don't know if it's our next show or whenever it is, but we are soon doing a live show.
Yeah, we got to get to work on that. So
yeah.
Yeah, we'll see you guys.
Peace.